After the removal of Muslim commander Khalid bin Walid, the sword of Allah, the Muslim army still adjusting stood strong in numbers, but fate was about to test them in ways no enemy sword ever could. It began with whispers of illness. A strange fever began spreading in the valleys of Amwas. At first, it seemed like nothing more than an illness, but soon the campfires of the Muslim army grew dim. Men coughed blood, their bodies burned with heat, and within days, some of the finest warriors of Islam fell one after another. This was the Great Plague, the Ta'un, one of the darkest tragedies in the early history of Islam. Hazrat Umar bin Khattab, Amirul Mu'mineen, had already been planning to travel to Sham, but when news of the outbreak reached him, his advisor warned him, "O Amirul Mu'mineen, the plague spreads swiftly. If you go, you may endanger yourself and the people of Medina." Umar stood firm and said, "We will not enter the land where Allah's decree has sent his test, and we will not flee from it either. We act according to Qadar, destiny, yet we take wisdom as our shield." Inside Sham, Abu Ubaidah received Umar's message, "Come to Medina. I need you by my side." But Abu Ubaidah replied with humility, "O Amirul Mu'mineen, I am among the soldiers of Allah. I cannot abandon them in this hour. If death is written for them, then let me be with them." His word reflected loyalty beyond measure. Umar's eyes welled up when he read the letter. He whispered, if only he had come, but Abu Ubaidah chose to stay with his man. The Prophet ﷺ had already foretold this trial. In a famous hadith, he said, "You will conquer Rome and Persia. After those victories, there will come a great plague which will cause the death of many among you." And now that prophecy was unfolding. Persia had already fallen. Syria was under Muslim control, and the plague descended upon Sham like a shadow. None could escape. Abu Ubaidah refused to abandon his army, despite Umar's order for him to come to Medina. True to his word, Abu Ubaidah stayed. He moved through the camps, comforting the sick, burying the dead with his own hands, whispering prayers for each fallen soldier. Soon he too fell ill. With his passing, one of the greatest companions of the Prophet ﷺ left this world. Before passing, Abu Ubaidah appointed Mu'adh bin Jabal. Mu'adh bin Jabal, the scholar among the companions, took command, but destiny spared him no more than days. The plague struck him and his family. His final words were filled with submission. "O Allah, grant me a share of this mercy." Soon after, he too returned to his Lord. One by one, commander and soldier fell. The once thundering army of Islam was now silent with grief. The plague consumed not only Abu Ubaidah, but also many of the senior commanders, and it is said that over 25,000 Muslims perished in that tragedy. When Umar bin Khattab himself traveled toward Sham to take control of the crisis, he was met by the shattered army, weary, grieving, but still holding on to faith. When he saw the suffering of his people, tears rolled down his cheeks. Standing before the survivors, he said, "If Allah had decreed this for us, then patience is our shield. Whoever remains steadfast, his reward is with Allah." This story of plague carries a haunting familiarity. Just as the world recently witnessed the pandemic of COVID-19, spreading from city to city, paralyzing nation and taking countless lives, the Muslims of that era faced their own unseen enemy, a plague that swept through their rank and changed the course of history. It was in this dark hour that a new figure rose to leadership. Hazrat Umar bin Aas, the new commander. The clever strategist, known for his sharp mind and decisive action. Unlike others, Umar bin Aas viewed the plague not only as a test but as a signal. He gathered the remaining soldiers and said, "This plague spreads when men gather closely. We must separate, move to the highlands and scatter the army and preserve the living." His strategy worked. By dispersing the men, he broke the chain of infection. Slowly, the death lessened. Umar approved of Amar's decision and praised his foresight. But Amr bin As' mind was already working on the future. He had a unique background with Egypt. Before accepting Islam, he was a skilled merchant and a diplomat who had traveled through Egypt many times. He knew its wealth, its fertile Nile Valley, and its importance as the breadbasket of the Byzantine Empire. Egypt not only provided grain to Constantinople but also stood as a gateway between Africa and the Mediterranean. Amr understood that if Egypt fell, Byzantine's power would be cut from its very root. So he stood before Khalifa Umar bin Khattab and said, "O Amirul Mu'minin, the plague has weakened our position in Sham, but Allah has opened a new path before us, the lands of Misr, the land of Egypt, the land of Pharaoh, rich, fertile and strategic. If we move forward, we will secure Islam's future and strike a blow to Byzantine from where they least expect it." But Umar bin Khattab shook his head. His voice was heavy with grief. "O Umar, the Muslims have just buried 25,000 of their brothers. Our general have fallen. The army is exhausted. Shall we throw into another war so soon? I cannot allow it." For a time, the matter was closed. But Amr bin As did not give up. He kept presenting the case, reminding Umar that Egypt was Byzantine lifeline. If it was taken, Islam's western flank would be secure forever. Finally, after much thought and prayer, Umar relented, but his approval was cautious and conditional. He said, "If you march with wisdom. Do not drag the believers into destruction. I am allowing you to move forward, but hear me well, O Umar. If I change my mind and recall you, then you must return immediately." Hazrat Umar bin As accepted the condition without hesitation. His heart was firm. He reminded the man, "We are not a people who fight for wealth or land. We fight so that the word of Allah may be supreme. Egypt will be ours, not by numbers but by faith." And so, from the ashes of plague and loss, a new chapter began. The Muslim banners, once dimmed by death, were raised once more. Amr bin As led his men westward across the desert towards the mighty Nile. The Byzantines, still recovering from their defeats in Syria, never imagined that the Muslim, weakened by plague, would dare to march on Egypt. Yet, under Umar's leadership and Amar's daring, history was about to be rewritten. Hazrat Umar bin Khattab, on his way back to Medina, Umar could not free his mind from the thoughts of Egypt. He had allowed Amr bin As to march, but the memory of 25,000 Muslims lost in the plague weighed heavily on his heart. Every step of his journey, his thoughts circled. Have I made the right decision? Is the army strong enough? Should I have held Amr back? The desert wind whispered doubts. Umar's heart was torn between caution and vision. He knew Amar's brilliance as a commander, but he also knew the fragility of the army after such a devastating loss. Again and again he considered sending a letter to recall Amr, to stop him before it was too late. But Amr bin As was already moving swiftly with his men, crossing into the land that would one day carry Islam's banner, and Umar, though worried, placed his trust in Allah's decree. This was the moment when despair turned into destiny. From Khalid's removal to Abu Ubaidah's death, from the tears of Umar to the rise of Amr bin As, every trail shaped the path of Islam. Egypt awaited, and with it a new victory that would echo through the centuries. The battlefield of history is not always made of sword and shield. Sometimes it is written in plagues, in patience, and in the choices of leaders. Umar's wisdom, Abu Ubaida's sacrifice, Amr bin As' strategy, all became chapter of one story, the rise of Islam against every test of time. In our next video, we will cover the complete siege and the victory of Egypt, the city of pharaohs. The battles, the strategies, and how a new capital of Islam was born on the Nile River. If you found this story inspiring, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter in this journey of our history.